Galactic Legend, being able to put so much more pressure onto those flyers up in the sky, but he's also got really good synergy to go alongside the dive components of things like a Venom or a Hulk, especially if you're able to get Invis Woman through, as every single time we get to see the Star-Lord POV, it's always accompanied by that Guardian Shield stagger in front of them so that they can receive as much healing as possible.
All right, happy music in the background. Krakoa's Hellfire Gala is ready to begin as we dive into our ban phase, Mox. These are different from your regular ranked bans, and they are only for the other team.
Well, Insomnia are going to prioritize the damage boost components of the Mantis, which is going to weaken that damage output of a Venom. Vice are going to prioritize taking the Jeff out of the way, so no stability of the 100 heals per second coming in through from the It's Jeff. You also don't have to worry about holding onto a CC immunity ultimate to deal with the Landshark, and they're actually going to secure themselves not one-sided Jeff, but one-sided Luna, which means that they can open the door for their duelists to playing a little bit more aggressive on those flank plays. Something like a Namor, a Star-Lord, and a Phoenix all looking immensely strong off of the back of that save.
All right, Mantis protection. It's interesting to see Luna be such an early protector for the side of Vice, given that for many teams it's not a priority ban until like the later stages of the bans. There's going to be Adam taken out, so Insomnia are likely going to have to try and match that one. Oh, okay. This does mean that Adam could be on the table for a Light and Dark Karma team up with the Luna, but I don't know if Vice particularly want to bring out the Adam themselves.
Yeah, do Vice now go for a ban onto something like that Venom so that they don't have to worry about the Mantis damage boosting the Feast of the Abyss? Luna's still up for grabs though on the side of Insomnia, which is going to make this ban really tricky for Vice to try and figure out what they want to do, because they're not going to be able to remove every single form of the damage boost. Mantis is already out, but if you take the Luna away, at least you don't have to worry about Feast of the Abyss or Endsong Inferno being bolstered by something like that Fate of Both Worlds. As we can see, Insomnia have actually saved themselves the Invis, so they can play both the double strategist backline while also having a triple strategist lineup still open and available for them. As we can see that Vice have indeed removed that Venom so that we don't see the damage boosted Feast of the Abyss, nor the soft dives coming on through from Passover.
Maybe an Adam ban last here to make sure that it is at least not going to be one-sided in favor of Vice. So he could walk away from this one. Yeah, there it is, the Adam ban. If that didn't come through, I would have had some questions for Insomnia on domination, at least, where Adam is at his most powerful. Oligator, Lugia Goat could be showing off an early Namor look here.
Yeah, I mean, Adam on Krakoa, especially if you manage to win the dice roll and get the sub-map of Cradle, where you can res on the other side of the portal so that your opponent can't even really chase you down. Although that's become a little bit less necessary now that we actually get to see that shield buff come through after the res has finished. So we actually even see sometimes teams resing directly behind point of just natural cover. But like you said, we are going to be getting to see that Oligator Namor coming on through. And remember, they got the Invis Woman, which means that there's going to be a lot of Guardian Shield stagger for control of those off angles, and that Namor to be able to apply a lot of pressure as well, forcing Vice to have to split their attention.
All right, might be some split attention from Vice, but all of your attention should be on the screen, because these teams, once again, it's do or die. If they do not win here, their season for this year of Marvel Rivals Esports might just be over.
Yep, and you don't want to start off in a best of 5 losing a domination map type too, because it can become real hard to recover from a tilt this early on in these matchups. And you don't want to lose that first fight either, because having that point percentage and allowing you to take control of those spaces for things like a dive, for the Star-Lord not to get checked out, as well as that Namor being able to have already developed that angle and apply the spam, there's win conditions hinging on that space control for both of these comps.
Cautious approach here from Vice, wondering if maybe they were going to get assaulted by a portal early on from Insomnia. Both teams putting a lot of stock in their duelist, but Twitsy's going to be running solo here on the Star-Lord up against both a Namor and a Phoenix, which is a lot of pressure.
Yeah, but they've got damage boost, and that damage boost is going to be able to go out onto the Starlord, but also the Vanguards, which means that Paso is going to be able to build up ultimate incredibly quickly. Not if he already gets taken down, but damage boosted Emma Frost is just going to mean that Vice have to play really carefully around the Carbon Crushes and the energy builds up, as Missouri is going to get out damaged by Forever if they go into a 1v1.
Oligator's already used their bubble here, desperately needs a rescue coming through from the strategists, and well, Forever's more than happy to try and chase this one down at 100 charge on the beam. The damage is going to be difficult to try and sustain on through, even with the Guardian and Aegis shields raised. So it's noted on the other side, Lugia is going to be responsible for trying to remove Starlord from this annoying flank and open the space back up for their team. But Forever's just having an absolute barn burner of a game so far, still on 100 charge, still unbothered, brings out the ultimate, emerging from the cocoon of invisibility to grab the minds of Vice one by one and draw them into the spider's web of Emma Frost.
Yeah, big play coming on through from Insomnia. Vice did have control of that point first, however, so they did build up 25% to it, and that means that Insomnia are going to keep the pressure going so that they can equalize and then surpass the percentage charge. Baby Bat 2 is going to be tried to be desynchronized from Oleg's ultimate so that the damage boosted Horn of Proteus can't find that instant pick value, as Insomnia do go for that dive, disrupting the backline and forcing them to have to return with an Emma ultimate.
Nocta already down, so Relaxing Sky, yeah, has to just plug up the gaps here with the Fate of Both Worlds, giving overall that healing. Now Insomnia, though, might be a little bit more difficult to try and disengage. And Ken, oh, quick flip around the back. Was that from Lugia? They might just steal it out from under Insomnia. That's a little bit of objective discipline, which hasn't been observed here. Gives Nocta time to return, though, and that makes it all the more easy for Baby Bat to fall. Knudsen in short order as well. Insomnia, they're like an elastic band. They just snap back with more force when you start to bend and break them.
Yeah, Freedom Charge allowed Insomnia to go aggressively running towards Baby Bat, which means that the Lunia was desynchronized from the Namor, gets taken down before they can use the Fate of Both Worlds to boost up that Horn of Proteus so it doesn't have the pick potential with that one-shot capability. Knudsen now is onto the Iron Man, just trying to put the pressure onto Insomnia's dives when they decide to show one up, but they're just going to be able to keep up that aggression with the Soul Resurgence and running directly at them with the better damage boost.
Oh, that might be a little bit tilting as well, just being spawn camped in the playoffs. No way like that. Oligator can't get away. Already used the bubble. The blessings of the deep have expired. Cthulhu has left your good graces. A quick TP here, maybe from Missouri. Is Forever going to TP in behind them and use the area?
Yeah, it feels like it, and then you force either the Luna's ultimate or the Invis boundary off of the objective. Knudsen at least has threatened a back cap, and now we get to see that Sonic Seduction coming on through. The Line Pro actually utilized the Invis boundary earlier on. It's not going to be on the objective, but it's still more than enough aggression for Insomnia to be able to take down the Iron Man first.
Ain't gonna lie, I don't know what Line Goat was cooking with that one. That was a bit of a wild cue if ever I've seen one. Twitzy hovering above it all. The damage is good, but it is going to force Lugia to use their own here. Knudsen up in the sky needs to gather some pressure for the remainder of the team. Vice, with a big investment here off the back of the World Breaker Hulk, will be able to flip.
Yeah, but now they're in control of the space, which is absolutely big for them. You don't have to rely on your Hulk developing the angle for the Namor, and at the moment that was the problem for Vice. The Hulk wasn't able to develop those angles because he was constantly having to hopscotch between playing the front line and peeling his back line. Insomnia now might get scouted on out, however, with the portal they can rotate all the way to the back of point and now threaten the cap without getting spam damaged out.
All right, the Horn of Proteus ready to sound its sonorous call could well doom Insomnia here. Knudsen up close and personal against Possible, wasn't able to reflect that, which is a bit of a rarity for the cat with the on-demand shield. I think it was broken by the remainder of the team. Gamma Monster already taken on down. Now it's time to roll forward for Insomnia. Fate of Both Worlds drives them forth with massive amounts of healing, and Oligator, slept for a moment, sedated by the Mantis. Is there going to be enough peel coming through here as the Horn of Proteus finally strikes? Seems to have only hit Relaxing Sky, but Nocta's more than capable of burst healing through that with the instant burst of a Soul Resurgence, grabbing the mind of Pasuo. He's been absolutely scuppered by the pretty woman as Forever rolls out with the portal ready to try and recontest, but Vice have got them off the point entirely, and that's going to be a great turnaround from Vice.
And that's the difference, right? When you control the space and you have Namor and Iron Man, you have a crossfire. You've got Iron Man in the sky, you've got Namor on the ground. You can play as well between having your Hulk be able to peel, your Invis being able to provide Guardian shields for your flyer or your off-angle control. And off of the back of that too, it means that Insomnia weren't able to cleanly find those dives onto the backline. And Baby Bat and Ken finally got the ability to breathe, while Missouri could hold down the forward on the point itself. That's why it's so important for that Hulk and Namor to be able to win those first duels, as Insomnia never got to desynchronize the composition from spamming.
Got to have those priorities. Otherwise, Namor is really going to be able to find those off angles on your approaches and just make you use so many of your healing resources when those strategists get in a bad position and get right-clicked.
See, I wonder if we're actually going to see Insomnia. Twitzy late swapped over to that Psylocke, but no, it is going to be back onto that Star-Lord. So again, if you win the first fight, you're going to be able to put so much more pressure onto Knuten. If you lose the first fight, it's likely going to be a pivot over to the Psylocke so that you can look for the pressure onto both the flyers and backline hits for Passwell in the cap.
All right, Guardian Shield absorbs the Gamma Exile that was being sent forth from the Hulk. Passwell looking for their way in here. Is always going to be cautious of that diamond form. Does not want to get grabbed here. As a lot of Gatora is actually just exiled.
The back line.
Oh no, yeah, the back line.
That's Invis boundary forced.
That's a huge force. At least it does have some coverage on the point. Line Pro just playing it from behind, making sure they don't get taken down. Great Aegis shield coming through from Forever. And without the shielding now, as it was instantly broken by the Maximum Pulse, just gets into the diamond form and starts going up against Missouri. Taken to the sky, Twitzy ready to write a galactic legend of their own. But Baby Bat's got more than enough healing. She has deployed the Fate of Both Worlds, and now it's Knuten's time to track, banishing the Star-Lord elsewhere as he just dives into the bushes for cover, while Ken around the back has managed to find the opening. Knuten taken out of the sky by the Emma Frost, and Insomnia, despite the long fight, have managed to walk away with it.
Yeah, big pick from Passwell comes through onto Ken so that Insomnia can finally out-sustain their opponent and claim the point for themselves. And now we're going to be seeing the pressure come through once again onto Vice. Every single time they try and rotate and gain space, they risk their backline of being overrun by the pressure coming on through from the Captain America and the Star-Lord if they don't clear it first.
As you know, that duo wrapping around the back needs to be cleared. It's already forced out the armor overdrive here from Knuten, taken down to the ground by the Sonic Vortex. Passwell taking quite a bit of damage, but his health bar's barely moving. The Freedom Charge makes it just so free for Captain America to assault this back line. 6 unbreakable guards given over here to give Lugia a go. An absolute embarrassment of riches when it comes to ultimate charge. The World Breaker Hulk good to go as the Horn of Proteus wraps around the back, yet to actually bring themselves in. But Forever with a missed spinning kick. Didn't miss the opportunity though, as the remainder of the team was more than capable of collapsing on the forward pushing Vice.
Yeah, and Insomnia just wait for Vice to be in too deep before they can disengage, pop the Solar Resurgence, and again dial up the aggression. Oleg can't use the Horn of Proteus to try and slow them down because Baby Bat was desynchronized from the ultimate charge, having to utilize her ult in the first fight of this round against that Galactic Legend coming on through. And Insomnia now, once again, going to be able to push out so much pressure, but this time Line Pro does go down first before Twitzy wins the duel against the Flyer.
Still 2 strategists though. Still got the Mantis in the back, holding out the spawns. Lugia Go getting low, has to use the World Breaker Hulk to try and make this one work, as Passwell in the back desperately wants access to the Lunar Snow, and it forces Ken to bring up the invisible boundary. A quick sedation, a follow-up stun can't be delivered as Relaxing Skies Absolute Zero goes awry, but it's Twitzy up in the sky, shutting down Knuten. The Maximum Pulse is denied as Vice are scattered to all 4 winds, and Boreal forces fling them away from the point.
Yeah, and it's going to be Forever sitting on that Psionic Seduction too, so Knuten, even if he goes for Doctor Strange, Vice don't have anything to safeguard their presence after they've poured it on through, and it's not going to be a very long contest in the slightest, as Insomnia just have so much angle control to overrun into the backline as Ken's getting put under so much pressure.
Spinning kicks here could try and force a C9. It's going to be Forever backing off. The Diamond form is over, but the Sonic Seduction is still good to go. Aegis Shield to try and protect together to victory. proclaims Captain America, and Relaxing Sky's already down. Against a pair of Vanguard ults, what can the Insomniacs possibly hope to do? Forever's down, Ken taken out in turn, and Nocta rolls on forward, using that primary fire to great effect. Baby Bat's running for her life, but she can't go anywhere. Twitzy unable to move away from the Horn of Proteus. The stellar shifts were shut down by the weight of the ocean itself, and under the pressure, Insomnia are still forged.
Oh.
And Vice, I nowhere near the point.
I mean, that was a big pick onto Twitzy, who was so close to Galactic Legend, but yeah, Vice were just not near the point. Insomnia are actually even going to continue fighting that I2. Linebro had moved over to the Doctor Strange, you can see him here, so that he could keep Insomnia going long enough for that Galactic Legend to come through. As now we're likely going to be seeing, yeah, Forever goes back over to the ammo. It really did provide a lot of problems for Lugia on that Hulk to have to play around. As we can see the amount of damage that this M has been able to do, 13,972. 21 eliminations, 9 of them final hits. And that is the power with the Mantis, not just for the damage boost in the neutral, but also Soul Resurgence and the speed boost that it applies, being able to let you just walk out of the Horn of Proteus hit range.
Yeah, when you hit that 100 charge, you say, damage boost me! It's unironic. She will just melt people. She will turn their neurons to ash.
She does get a little bit of a Bunsen burner as a primary if she has that 100 charge plus the 12% damage boost from the Mantis on top of it. Vice now have a race that they have to go toe-to-toe with Twitzy to be able to build the ultimates. It's going to be Invisible Boundary versus Galactic Legend. Who can find it first?
How refreshing.
All right, Alligator once again playing on the peripheries as Knut, and oh wow, the mid-air Unbreakable Guard coming through from Luger as a momentary peel. Forever has to dodge away, but here comes the Galactic Legend up top. You can see that constant replacing of the Guardian Shield to try and protect him from the impact of the fully channeled Sonic Seduction from the Emma Frost. Doesn't really get too much at all, as Knudsen is 5 seconds away from her next Armor Overdrive. It'll be a big burst available for the side of Vice, and they almost have their ultimate from the Iron Man as well for maximum burst if they need it. A pair of shields are brought on up. Forever looks to try and survive inside of this. Oh, just jumped up. I think may have actually body blocked the maximum pulse, and the bar still manages to grab Twitzy as they were moving past elsewhere. Relaxing Sky and Line Pro, they both believe it's to be winnable. Down on 2 players, they double invest on their strategist ultimates. Huge sustainability given on over, as Passo's still here to try and play out towards the end. But guess what? Now you've got nothing to deal with the Horn of Proteus if Oligata decides to use it, but the damage has already been done. Nocta's thrown it in as well. All 3 strategist ultimates here. Anything.
Forever's back on the Angela, so they've still got Vanguard presence, but that's a huge pick. Paso goes down without the Freedom Charge being utilized, and Insomnia lose that first fight, and now have to clear both the Iron Man spam and the Nameless off angle. That's why we saw that amount of ultimates being invested from both of these teams. So speaking about clearing, has anyone cleared Twitzy? That Star-Lord is entirely invisible right now to be able to find a hit onto the back line, but as it is, there's no opportunity for him to survive that aggressive play, and he's got to rejoin his team instead.
Yep, just commutes around the other side as Paso draws back the aggressive positioning onto the point. Knudsen is more than happy to try and meet them there. In comes the Horn of Proteus, and farewell to Line Pro. Nocta's feeling the wrath of the Tridents of the 7 Seas right now, but it's going to be an extrication here for Alligator. Can't float away in the bubble fast enough, and Twitzy takes him down with the element guns. Still a disengagement on the table as Lugia needs the pressure of Vassal to get off of this backline into the Monster Hulk, and the backline's now in danger. Quickly grabbed by a Carbon Crush, and Twitzy decides to keep the pressure on. Unreal grab from Lugia. Oh, the Galactic Legend just slammed the book on it and slam around again. No one Carbon Crushes Hulk. Hulk Carbon Crushes you.
It's Psionic Seduction too. The fact that they can read the position that Twitzy's going to take, he was having to run away from the Emerald Smith directly into the waiting arms of Lugia for the suplex to come on through. And Vice now control that space. Ole's going to be entirely untouchable here. If Insomnia try and portal behind that point so that they don't take all of that incoming pressure from the angles that they don't control, they go directly past the Namel.
Missouri notes the approach of Paso here. Once again, it is going to be the Star-Lord and the Captain America playing as that terrible twosome after they both get their damage boost and try to open up the back line. Knudsen going low temporarily. but is well taken care of here by the fight. Look at the absolute smorgasbord of stuns that are ready for the Emma Frost there. Forces up the diamond form, up in the sky. Relaxing Sky has their ultimate cancelled by the perfect delivery of Knuten. And that means that now Noct has to roll on forward. Speed boost and healing for all of Insomnia. If only they're brave enough to use it. And bravery comes in spades when you're Captain America. He can do this all day.
Psionic Seduction opens up the space. Insomnia pop the Soul Resurgence so they can push for even more of it. And Twitzy gets to go deep with the Starlord and that damage boost, building up 83% to the Galactic Legend for this next fight to come on through before Vice have a defensive ultimate. And crucially this time, Missouri doesn't have Psionic Seduction to be able to shut it down, but they have to wait for the right opportunity. They can't use it too early, otherwise Vice is just going to disengage off of the better point percentage.
More eyes on Lugia as well. The grabbing out of the sky is not to be underestimated. Oligator uses the ultimate and goes down for their trouble. A sacrifice made, but a sacrifice might well be rewarded. The invisible boundary drawn on up. You won't see the approach of Lugia here. It seems like Insomnia just don't have the power to bring this one back. Fero's already swapped on over to the Doctor Strange. The pentagram of Ferala is ready to open, as it is going to be overtime now in favor of Vice. 42% for Insomnia. An invisible boundary to play with. Nocta moves out first, but quickly disappears thanks to the powers of the invisible woman. You can see Missouri works the periphery, not going to enter inside, just going to wait out that strategist ultimate as Pasuo comes in with the relay. Nocta's already down. Lugia is responsible for that one. The Hulk is ready to smash, and the CC taken away by Pasuo here. Just came on in to give everyone that overshield that was necessary. And Vice, they still have a couple of resources to work with here. They still have a couple of their members. The Ice Arts rolls on through, but it's going to be the Sonic Seduction that's going to rule the day. A little bit too far for Missouri, has to back on off.
Yeah, but that bought them the flip, which means that Vice are back in control of overtime. Insomnia have to throw one of their players onto the point, one at a time. Ai Agamotto could be huge, manages to find two, but all of the follow-up shut down by the invincible pulse cannon coming on through from Knuten, and Vice still have the numbers advantage.
And now Missouri just going to hunt down the remainder. 100 charge, 100% Vice, despite being spawn camped in the early rounds. Turn it here on Krakoa in 2-1 fashion.
Oh, it was so back and forth. Insomnia got an opportunity because of having that one-sided defensive ultimate when the portal recontest came on through, because we got to see Vice, when they got extended into, drop their invis boundary to catch the slow, and then when everyone from Insomnia tried to disengage out of it, Vice actually popped Baby That's Fate of Both Worlds to aggressively chase and make sure that they could find the pick conversions off of the back of it. But that meant that when the portal comes on through, Insomnia are the only ones with invis boundary. However, Vice let Insomnia cap, build up Missouri's ultimate, and then use it to push forward entirely unimpeded, as Forever had to swap over to the Doctor Strange, which means that there is going to be no other Emma on the side to be able to punish your aggression and overextending into their plays. They weren't off of the back of that Emma looking for picks, they were looking for the space control to flip back into them, because that meant that Insomnia, no matter the angles that Vice controlled against them, had to put one of their players onto the point and forego the attention turned towards the Iron Man and the Namor, which meant that Knuten and Oligator got so much work done in the overtime.
Yeah, Knuten managing to take down Relaxing Sky on the Luna twice with the Infinite Pulse. Your dodging options are very limited, and Relaxing Sky did manage to exchange a stun with Knuten for their life, but unfortunately the shot was already fired. Jarvis had already started the clip. And look at that. That was an Aegis. I think that one was for Forever Body Block. They came up with the Carbon Crush to try and grab Knuten out of the air. Here's another quick look at a frag on Relaxing Sky. Does get traded out when it comes to the stun, but value off the maximum pulse is just so hard to match in these overtime scenarios.
Yeah, and that was actually Vice able to win despite being at a disadvantage when it came to the Mantis. It was so important for them to be able to win that first fight. We got to see both of those teams full dumping their entire ultimate economy into that one fight, because as we talked about when we went into Carousel, both of those teams needed to be in control of the space. The Dive wanted to be in control of the space so that they could punish the rotations and force the fight to take as long as possible, gaining all of that point percentage. The Hulk and Namor needed to be in control of that space so that they didn't have to worry about their Namor losing uptime. And it was Vice that was able to come out on top. Whether or not they'll continue to do so, we'll have to see, as we'll be back with Map 2 after this break.
I'm hunkering down. Judge, jury, executioner!
Welcome back, gamers. 1-0 here as we wrap up in favor of Vice. That was quite the showing we saw with both Tony Stark and the Lord of the Seas, Namor, in attendance. It's good to see some good, honest, blue-collar, salt-of-the-earth, 9-to-5, 2-2-2 Marvel rivals succeeding.
I was gonna say, you're probably feeling a little bit blessed, just like that Nemo with the blessing of the deep survivability, right? As the vocal cords of a play-by-play does not have to worry about an entire team fight going on for a minute and a half, and then you hear Born Again off in the distance and it's like, okay, time to ramp up for stage number 2. So no surprises that we see Adam being banned left, right, and center when it comes to those domination types. Insomnia, having lost that domination map, now get the opportunity to pick which map type they want to take us to. Is it going to be Convoy for the triple Vanguard, triple Strategist hold, or is it going to be Convergence? And it is going to be Convergence, which means that Vice are likely going to continue rolling out with the Hulk and Namor shenanigans unless Insomnia look to ban them out.
Okay, Luna going to be the first ban this time. Noting the early priority of Luna Protects earlier from Vice. Maybe trying to get that out of the hands of Baby back because she's been doing some work on it.
Not just that, but you also now make the survivability of Vice's duelists a lot weaker because they don't get the heal trickle. If you're asking, oh, why are they not insta-banning Jeff? It's because this is symbiotic surface. So while, yes, you do still have to worry about how linear some of these fight angles are going to be and Jeff being able to build up his ultimate incredibly quickly, you don't really have to worry about it's Jeff leading to eliminations against your strategists, more displacement in the fight, which you can still come back from.
Okay. Mantis taken away. Could actually have a one-sided Mantis here, or even one-sided Luna. Which could be a significant advantage, given that Relaxing Sky is quite the proficient Luna player. It's for Adam.
I mean, Adam still finds power, even off of domination. Having Karmic Revival to really punish your opponent if they can't keep up with the sustainability that the Karmic Revival takes, as well as likely going to be having to stagger in stages how they make plays for an attacking round, since first you have to burn through the Soulbind and then not lose your players and reset, stabilize, and come back into the fight, all of which means that entirely through that interim you're going to be taking a lot of poke damage coming on through from the defender's positions.
Yeah, that poke really needs to factor into your approaches when it comes to, like, your resource math. Insomnia are going to get their next Protect now. They still have the option of one-sided Luna if they want the Light and Dark Karma team-up, which has been an absolute boon for survivability, but we're going to opt for the Invis instead. This is one of Line Pro's most beloved heroes from the days of yore when she was just after release, when she was busted.
Well, not just that, she's also very, very strong into being able to counter the dive compositions coming on through, and the fact that Vice were able to save an Ultron means that we're going to be seeing something like either a Star-Lord or a Human Torch up in the sky, and Human Torch can be both spam and dive if the targets get low enough and he feels the confidence to be able to fully commit on top of them. So we're going to be seeing Insomnia really have to keep up with that dive pressure with things like the Force Physics, as well as Invis boundary on the point itself, as they're going to be removing the Emma Frost, which means that Vice, if they want to go for a dive hybrid composition, are likely going to have to field the Magneto to be able to anchor that position, and Mag is not as good as Emma when it comes to preventing rushdown compositions.
You don't really present as much threat, and you are much easier to simply walk past.
Also means that Forever, if he wants to go with the Doctor Strange, doesn't have to worry about Diamond Form being CC immune and stopping his Eye of Agamotto, or if the Eye of Agamotto gets through, preventing the follow-up Maelstrom of Madness from picking a strategist through their ultimate, because you just grab the Doctor Strange before he can hit his E.
I mean, that's an absolute gift for Forever as well, who is a really good neutral Doctor Strange player. Often we see teams kind of leave Doctor Strange on the table so that the first person to fall as a casualty can swap over and TP back to the fight. But when you've got a Doctor Strange who's as good as Forever, I keep getting confused to have multiple names, including Pretty Betrayer. Forever's got they're capey as well. Forever's just got, like, they are the Moon Knight, honestly. Are they Mark Spector? Are they Grant? Who knows? But they are a good Doctor Strange player. That's what I do know. And playing it in the neutral, he did get a buff in Season 4.0 to have Maelstrom of Madness only be on a 6-second cooldown, so the output can be crazy.
Yeah, not just that, it also retained the buff of no damage fall off, as Insomnia, by being able to go for this Adam, are going to have a lot of sustainability because they're running both the Luna and the Invis, which is normally enough healing to sustain a 2-2-2 composition. You factor in a Soulbind and a Karmic Revival, and Insomnia are going to be very hard to push off of these spaces indeed.
Yeah, they are going to also be working those margins, of course. It's going to be Lugia who's actually tasked with defending those, which means that if you can keep the Venom dueling on the outskirts, your soft core is going to be a little bit more protected, not worrying about that dive coming in later. Missouri slowly eroding the space, getting on top of Nocta, but Canuten's already been made a casualty, and guess who's round the backs? The Phoenix with the pocket of Line Pro. A good collapse here from Insomnia, if only they can win their duels, and it's so easy when everyone's fleeing away.
And here's the thing about Insomnia being able to get that Luna too. You can't even try and pressure the Phoenix in a 1-versus-1 or an overwhelming odds fight, even if the Luna's occupied, having to help out the Adam and the Invis from the incoming dive from the Venom, because you get the Idol Aura on Twitzy, who already has Endsong Inferno, by the way.
That's so much damage. I mean, this is what happens when you go up against the Venom, right? He just soaks so much damage and could feed over so much ult charge throughout it. The disengagement here of Oligator needs a touch of pocketing over, as Canuten, ready with the Rage of Ultron, could have faced some trouble in the form of that Endsong Inferno. And Missouri's just catching absolute hands from Nocta right now. They're all over Twitzy, who still has the emergency Endsong if they need it, but instead it's going to be the usage of the Soul Bond and the Invisible Boundary as well. A lot of defensive prowess used here for Insomnia, so we need to try and convert on this one. Up close and personal. Oh my goodness, body and soul alike are charred before the Endsong Inferno. Ashes scattered of Vice. And Vice, they are going to have a little bit of time here and a little bit of space to work with.
Oh, and Luke is able to track down Nocta's position too, which means no self-cocoon into Karmic Revival. Instead, you're relying on passive with the Freedom Charge, buying enough time for a Doctor Strange teleport to potentially come on through. There's plenty of shields on the point, which means Speedram doesn't get the target it's looking for, but the pressure afterwards forces Relaxing Sky into using their ultimate instead.
All right, they'll be back going to match here with the Eternal Bond, but this is going to give Forever time to start channeling that Pentagram of Ferala, opening it up, looking towards the back. Relaxing Sky's already down. Knuten was so on it. Yet another resurrection brought on through the Karmic Revival, this time from Nocta. Twitzy's come back the old-fashioned way, using both wing and foot alike. Talon should strike, as it's Forever around the back, getting that last-second contest after 2 ticks have already been accrued. Nocta noted in the back. The combo timing is just perfect from Lugia. He's having himself a heck of a game right here, but there's still the Cocoon Revival to play with, and Nocta up close and personal against Canuten. That hit scan is not to be underestimated. Forever and Pasiwo, they remain absolute stalwarts on this point, leaving it for a second, giving up some damage to everyone else through the Soul Bond to try and give time for everyone else to return. It's Nocta in the back with the live streams, just keeping them sustained, and Vice are having trouble converting.
Line Pro's coming back on the Rocket too. Even if Vice managed to find a pick, they're just going to be brought back immediately by the Rocket BRB, and all of that storm means that Nox is going to be able to have another Karmic Revival. It's Jeff comes on through, Twitzy dodges it with the Endsong Inferno cast, and now it's a waiting game to try and find whether Jeff is going to surface. Ken goes low, but doesn't go down crucially, and has been able to displace a couple of players. Enough players that Oligator believes it's going to be winnable with only 30 seconds left on the clock. Vice have to finish this fight right here, right now. A huge pick comes through onto Noxa too before the Adam has become the Revival cast. An Eternal Bond healing is going to mean that everyone stays alive after that Eye of Agamotto comes on through. Vice surely pick up the point now, Harry.
Yeah, Cosmic Yarn Amplifier gets used in a last-ditch attempt coming on through. And that is going to be the cap finally. But Vice's time bank was absolutely decimated.
They don't have control either of the high ground right now, so they've got to dive for it first, put up the pressure, which means that Twitzy on that Phoenix is going to be able to start stunning Lugia into the chain CC combo. Knuten, though, catches the disengage. Soulbind is there to keep them safe from the Agent of Ultron coming on out, but Vice, off of the back of that pressure, have been able to buy themselves the high ground.
Yeah, Knuten just being able to float up easily means that there's always space to try and work with Lugia on these. Missouri not really offered too many great options for the Meteor M, and unfortunately the worst option of all was throwing it into the wall, and that's the one that Missouri opted for. Nocta brings himself back into the fray via the Cocoon Revival, and now as teams began to stack up in cover, this is where the Phoenix gets really dangerous, building up those sparks.
Lugia is going to have the Feast of the Abyss, likely to keep a track of when Nocta is going to be looking to revive everybody. With that Karmic Revival casters, like you said, he has already burned the Self Cocoon. Twitzy gets so much damage, but overextends into that pressure coming on through. And because Ensong Inferno is built up, they have to bring the Phoenix back with the Animal.
Yeah. That's going to be a priority. It's the right click good. Nova Soul Bond's going to share out the damage, so survival's on the cards, but that means everyone's low. So it's easy pickups on the other side for Knuten. The setup and the knockdown from Vice, who are making good on low time.
Twitzy had to hold on to the Ensong Inferno too, because he's got to hold it. But when Ken uses its Jeff to try and grab everyone out from Insomnia, there's going to be a huge target focus when that invisible boundary comes on through from Line Pro. As Insomnia are going to have to try and retake into the right side so that they don't have to worry about bypassing Lugia on the Venom.
Freedom Charge rolling forth, baby back the primary target. And my goodness, the conflux of damage was just too much to deal with. And Ken couldn't react to it in time. However, the reaction might be coming through rather quickly from the Ensong Inferno. They run down the marine life with the cosmic force of Phoenix and Vice. Well, I think this one might be over for them.
Yeah, Twitzy still with the animation cancels up too. On that Phoenix is going to be able to hold off of Vice's pressure on that high ground. Oleg on the solid, not wanting to get picked a little bit later. Trying to reposition, disengage back with the rest of the team because they have one more push. And they're not going to be able to do it off of walking up to the objective. It has to come at the cost of a Doctor Strange portal. So already we're going to be seeing Insomnia looking to rotate and hit the second that they come on through. Galactic Legends going to force out the invisible boundary coming on through from Line Pro, and Forever with the Sonic Seduction just means that Vice don't get to hold that position on the objective.
Yeah, they have to back on off quickly. Lugia and Missouri tagging in and out to make sure that one's on the point at all times. They want Nocta so bad, and even with the Aegis shield raised, Nocta will still fall. Knuten at the moment prioritizing the healing, really stressing that back line. Forever falling low. I think there was actually some shielded off healing coming through from a Doctor Strange, and Lugia's able to convert on this one. But Twitzy with access to the high ground just starts rolling forth, and if it isn't the best melee DPS in the game, getting up close and personal, she can do it all, folks, and that's just what cosmic power puts in your back pocket. Missouri tries to run them down, but getting close is scary. The Guardian Shield is even more, and Insomnia just wipe Vice from the point.
I mean, the writing's on the wall at that point. Even if Vice are able to have Oleg on the Spider-Man swing on through and touch the objective, Insomnia are still holding all of the winning cards. They've got a full house of the Comic Revival built on up so that they can keep their presence on that objective, and that is where the convoy will end on Vice's attack. Now they're going to have access to the defense. We really get to see Baby Bat coming on through on the Cloak and Dagger, a strategist that we don't really get to see all that much of. Do Insomnia try and field a one-shot capability to bring the Cloak and Dagger down? Magneto is still going to be open for them, but having that damage with the Meteor M and the Phoenix Ensong Inferno might be too juicy a prospect to pass up on, as Forever is already on the Mutant Vanguard.
My guy's speculating the Master of Magnetism takes to the field.
Get ready.
And as you said, knowing that that's an option, when you know you're going up against the classic counter, Meteor M, it can also be great knowing that, hey, I've got a coordinated team. The Iron Bulwark is not necessarily a counter to my Meteor M, because my team can probably burst through that shield in good time.
Yeah, I mean, if Ensong Inferno hits before Meteor M as well, then maybe that's already going to lose full access to that bulwark coming on out. It really is going to be about who can find more value as Oleg on that Star-Lord. Vice holding close, looking not just to scout, but also keep the attention so that they don't see the Venom. As you can see, Twitzy clearing every single angle before Lugia can find the commitment, and they found him.
Paranoia pays off in this case, and it's a quick disengagement here for Lugia. Means that the back line is going to be momentarily open as well.
Castle is already on point, pulling everybody to have to split their attention. Insomnia gets to walk onto point essentially for free.
Yeah, and Twitter gets to take the high ground as well, critically. Look how much space Forever has gained here. Just rolling on up slowly and making sure that this high ground is absolutely opened up for Twitzer to work with. He's already halfway to that Ensong Inferno. A quick jump pack from the rocket utilized, and Baby Bat's already fallen. This could be the beginning of the end for Vice already. Missouri next to go. The healing throughput just isn't there with only a Jeff for Landshark. Passuo's traded out, yes, but Nocta and Twitzy utilizing their hit scan prowess carve through the defense.
Not just that, but because Insomnia were able to scout that dive, Soulbind wasn't forced in the first engagement hit of Lugia and Oleg, which meant that they had it for the walk-up. Rage of Ultron is at least built up of all of the damage that Vice were taking, and Missouri's over to the Doctor Strange, but oh no, they already lost the point.
Oh, that's sad. F in the chat for Knutton's ult. Well, Vice, now what do they do, Mox?
Yeah, I mean, Missouri on the Doctor Strange at least has the ability to fly up to the high ground with the cape of levitation and try and hold it long enough for Vice to come on through with Baby Bat's blind. Ken's got to go over to the Loki so that they've got the regeneration domain and can survive the pressure coming on through from these ultimates. But Twitzy's Ensong Inferno is going to be able to shut that down, combined with the Meteor M, and Oleg as the target all the way through. Galactic Legend was in play.
Right click wasn't good enough, and the accuracy was there. A wonderful shutdown coming through from Forever. Passuo takes into the back, and while Ken can't survive against two Vanguards focusing their fire. A casualty confirmed, and the car keeps rolling. The disengage from Vice is desperate, and even now there's still going to be a Karmic Revival to try and keep up the pressure here from Insomnia. Vice is disengaged. It's messy, and they barely even managed to stop the car. It's been rolling most of his time, Mox.
Oh, and the pick onto Twitzy was too early too. The Phoenix comes right back into the mix off of the last second of Karmic Revival cast. Yes, Vice are coming in with ultimates, but Relaxing Sky and Line Pro are going to have access to theirs, and Vice still have to get past the angle control from both the Phoenix and the Atom if they want to get onto the objective and stall it out.
Well, the Copper's Eternal Bond should at least be survivable here from Ken. There's no Meteor M, no Ensong Inferno ready to go already. Lugia has engaged, and their health's going to be going up real fast with the Eternal Bond behind them. However, 3 stuns from Vice. Ensong Inferno begins to strike fourth. In comes the Eye of Agamotto as well. Line Pro and Nocta both stunned up, but guess what? Preemptive use of a Soul Bond is all that they need. A maximum pulse from the sky. Knutton gets 2! Nocta and Line Pro both fall down, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Nocta can return. The Cocoon Revival, the perfect being. He might not have legs, but what he does have is great determination and power behind him. Nocta just runs them down. Knutton can do nothing but stare from afar as Oblivion consumes Vice and Insomnia take Glintar.
Yeah, Adam might lack mobility when he's in his alive state, but having access to that cocoon, which was not part of the team up from the Guardians, and stayed even after that had been removed from the game, allows Nocta, despite getting picked by the Iron Man ultimate, to come back into the mix. And that's because Insomnia, they know that it's still winnable because they have Twitzy up on that Phoenix. And I mean, look at the damage output. 25,399 points of damage. When we didn't even see a full push on either sides, this Phoenix was absolutely melting off of the pocket afforded to them.
Yeah, it's a pretty good hero, eh? Turns out it's one of the most popular, it's one of the most powerful forces in the comics, and we're beginning to see why they're the Phoenix and not Jean Grey in some of these circumstances. Despite some spirited moments from Insomnia, definitely felt like Vice had their number rolling through. I thought this was one of the better maps for Insomnia as well. I maybe missed it. I think that Insomnia have played this a couple of times before. Vice, I remember Knutton playing a little bit of Adam here, but it being banned away was definitely a plus. And now I'm going to be wondering if we see more early Luna bans up against Vice to try and keep Baby Bat on the Cloak and Dagger.
Not just that, but it also meant that Twitzy was always having Snowflake advantage when it came to those duels. And as we got to see when we were looking at their attacking rounds, because they had all of that healing coming through from so many different sources, they could apply so much more pressure on spread out angles, which stopped any dives from coming on through prematurely from Vice. So Insomnia walked to point for free, were able to hide their backline in a place that the dive couldn't follow them for free, and held on to Soulbind for the first fight for free when it got to the brawl stage, and they could threaten point control and picking up percentage if the dive wanted to step up to the plate and try and take a fight against them.
Well, both of our teams are absolutely terrified of elimination, and everybody wants to make it to Atlanta. The only way to do that is through victory, and victory is going to await one of these teams on the other side of our break.
I want your soul! Hell unleashed!
All tied up 1-1 here, Mogs. It seems like Insomnia might have found some secret sauce by banning a wave of lunar snow, as we have to go to a convoy map now, which is going to be of a choice of Vice.
Yeah, I mean, taking them to symbiotic surface so that the Jeff, even if it did get through, wouldn't be as impactful was absolutely huge for Insomnia. But like you said, they now have to go for a convoy map, and it is going to be Vice's pick of the mix too. So maybe we see them try and take us to a map where the Jeff is going to have a little bit more strength to facilitate the warrant of that ban. Somewhere like Spider Islands, which we've already seen things like the Atom composition try and come on through with, especially since we know that Canute likes the flyer heroes, so maybe they put some pressure onto things like the Iron Man pickup or the Human Torch.
Yeah, I think that having Jeff present more of a threat is definitely a huge thing here for the side of Vice, because we did see the Jeff come through from Ken, and it was a little bit of a nothing burger, to be honest. I hate to be cruel about it, but Jeff on Symbiotic Surface doesn't really have much danger presented by the ultimate. That it's Jeff. Probably would have been better to have been combined with a Storm, to be honest, if Jeff Nader or something. But you're kind of -1 strategist ultimate and minus a bunch of frags and minus your own strategist when they're carrying them. So, we're going to a Rocco, which is also a very dangerous Jeff map on first, but I don't know if it's going to necessitate the ban.
Well, it's going to be a ban, and some are actually going to be removing not the Luna this time around. The Invis is going to be removed, and you can see that Vice, yeah, they're going to make sure that they keep the Luna so that they're not forced onto Cloak and Dagger when Magneto is still in play, and your ultimate doesn't have as much pressure to get one shot when you're stuck in those dash animations. Some are going to be removing Emma Frost next, a Vanguard which we've seen catching a lot of bans on convoy maps, as she does significantly put a stall and hold on to those triple Vanguards being able to hold up the time bank on the objective.
I feel like Insomnia are currently flexibility checking Vice. Like, they're saying, okay, Mantis and Adam, they can both stay open for now. Like, I don't know if you guys have Adam and Mantis players. Like, if you guys can truly make use of a triple strategist for some of the table. Like Vice has made it this far in the tournament, but surely those are available. But Insomnia doesn't seem overly concerned by those meta strategists.
Good ban coming on through from Vice against the Ultron. That's going to be something that Insomnia are going to feel, not just on their defense, but also on their attack, because one of the answers that we've seen to teams being spawn held is to send Ultron and something else that can have high mobility and flank around all the way to the backside of the defense off of the portal with the Ultron pocket, and then force a pivot of attention where the backline has to look behind them, and in turn not getting to babysit that front line, allowing the attackers to just bulldoze their way into that unclaimed space. As Vice are going to be removing the Adam this time around, not leaving it up for Nocta to be able to have, as if they do want to have an Ultron themselves, they want to make sure that they don't have to worry about that constant pressure of hit scan, plus having to go deep enough to be able to check where that comic revival position is going to be.
The Venom going away, like the Venom ban seems to potentially...
Mantis is still up, Luna's still got Snowflake to be able to give to those dive components. Emma got banned against Vice too, so you're not even going to be able to use Carbon Crush to keep the Venom in check. Nah, Venom had to get removed. Yeah,
Venom had to go. We are likely going to be seeing a 2-2-2 from Insomnia here, given they've got access to both the Luna and the Invisible Woman. The Invisible Woman's not going to be available for Vice, of course. It's been banned away as Oligator poised with the idea.
Yeah, I don't think we see a 2-2-2 come from Insomnia just yet, though. They're going to be starting on that defense. So, like you said, even though they have the Invis and the Luna available, they also got the Mantis, which means that Nox is going to be taking that one. And Twitzy has impressed when he's come to being able to flex over to the Emma Frost. Him and Crazy Kitty, I think, have the best flexibility when it comes to moving over to that Vanguard and being able to output so much damage. And remember, they banked on that Emma. They removed Emma from their opponent so that they could get one-sided pressure and one-sided peel with the Carbon Crush and Spinning Kick pressure to have an environmental damage, potentially, when we get to the second half of first.
Yeah, the second half of first can be just such an annoying place to hit with the big death drop on one side. And, you know, we have seen occasional pivots into something like a Angela here. I don't know if either of these teams are particularly inclined towards the Angela. We're looking more towards like a Na'Vi or potentially having Binary play those on phase.
Well, Vice see it's a triple Vanguard, triple Strategist, and immediately go for the spawn, hold, pressure, break. Knuten over to that Moon Knight to try and supercharge up the first Hound of Khonshu, but he's hardly getting any damage through because of the amount of shield block that Insomnia have. In fact, they're the first ones to get a pick onto Groot, so no one-sided wall isolations.
Yeah, curiously, Insomnia are playing a rare Testudo formation right here when it comes to their triple Vanguard. A bunch of shields. They are essentially interlocking shields like 300 Spartans and trying to hold Thermopylae.
I was going to say, this is very Roman in its stylings. Just playing for all of that shields to prevent any of this incoming pressure from that Moon Knight. Luke is actually going to move over to the Wolverine so that he can keep up the pressure onto the Doctor Strange or Password, who is incredibly far forward on that Magneto. And there goes the Doctor Strange, but give it a moment, he'll be back because Nocta has the BRB up.
Yep. Forever is returning, and Passuo slowly is rotating back into the space given. Knuten across the way saw a squishy target potentially approach Passuo, grabbed off. Nice pull from the invisible woman, but it's a little bit too late for Force Physics to rescue. Incoming stun! 4 players of Vice have souls separated from their corporeal bodies, but the follow-up simply isn't there. Line Pro a touch too late with the invisible boundary. It was already Passuo and Forever are outside of the area of effect here. So Insomnia are just going to have to do their best to try and keep the Flora Colossus contested. And there's the big combo. The Hand of Khonshu and the Flora Colossus both absolutely put this one in the grave.
Yeah, that Eye of Agamotto could have been huge, but Vice were able to burn down the Cosmic Yawn Amplifier. Otherwise, it really would be Sia right back to spawn for Vice before the Maelstrom of Madness follow-up damage could come through. But Invisible Boundary being burned, and that they didn't have any counterplay against the group combo with that Moon Knight, as Hurricane is going to try and connect onto the players from Insomnia who portaled with the Strange back onto the high ground, and that forces out the Luna's Fate of both wards. That Insomnia now have to get aggressive and move forward off of the back off, but they've lost full control of the off angles coming on through from both the Storm and the Moon Knight.
Disengagement was clean from Oligator. You got to worry here about the Feral Leap taking someone down into a pit, but the Wolverine's already used it, getting up close and personal. Passuo still falls midway through the channel. The group does not respect your metallic supremacy as it's Lugia towards the back, instantly moving away from the Emma Frost. She's bloody scary up close. You happen to be a Wolverine. Passuo low again. The Unk Impact is what gets it done. Khonshu makes his will known as the Ironwood walls save Knuten from a little bit of additional follow-up damage. The backline noted. They're grabbed on in. The Strangling Prison gets a couple of new inmates, and it's a life sentence here for Insomnia as Vice roll through.
Yeah, Missouri has been absolutely goated when it comes to these group walls being able to provide additional cover to prevent the Sonic Seduction from connecting onto the squishier players coming on through from Vice, and also letting that Moon Knight's Hand of Khonshu just put the pressure onto the control of the objective, allowing Vice to pick up that first control and now change the composition entirely because Spawnhold has been broken. It's over to the Torch getting pocketed by that Ultron that they prioritized saving.
Yeah, Oligator is going to be able to pump out so much damage here, but is going to face hit scan pressure from both Nocta and Twitzy. A 2 versus 1 that could be difficult to try and match in midair, even with the flight of Ultron in the pocket as well. Oh, the Ironwood wall is just perfect. Forever went too far up, and, well, because Nocta was off on this off angle, there wasn't enough pressure to try and break that wall, because you can't build up the sparks on the walls themselves. And Oligator, for now, just looks away. A quick disengagement off the back of the Eternal Bond. Not sure how I feel about that one. Ken's disengaging. Line Pro's on being chased down very heavily right now.
Vice are having to have their attention turned so many ways, as there was actually presence on the point itself. I believe that was Passuo on the Captain America stalling out the objective push, but Vice lost a little bit of uptime. Rage of Ultron comes on through. Twitzy with the damage boost from Relaxing Sky, not going to be able to impact the ground in time to convert off of damage. And it's up to Nocta. What a freeze from Baby Bat to interrupt the Galactic Legend. And it's now up to Forever to cover the space, but that means that Meteor M's being burned, and it's not going to be that to absorb Supernova once Ken comes back into play.
Dude, Forever saw all of the possible futures there to try and land that Meteor M. Big freeze to shut down all of this offensive pressure. Lion Pro's grabbed on in, puts on the orange jumpsuit. The Strangling Prison claims yet another soul. And Twitzy does get one before they fall on down. So Knuten's going to be down on the overall generation of the Rage of Ultron.
Oh, stall coming in through from Passuo, but Insomnia can't lose the Captain America. He's the one closest to the ultimates, so he doesn't get to go as aggressive as he wants to, instead it's up to the Magneto, but he's just going to get crew walled off by Missouri, and the backline have to swing out so much wider, which means that they get tracked down by the Human Torch. There's no peel. It's a 1 versus 1, and Line Pro will lose to the sibling.
Lugia unable to convert there onto Passuo, but it does at least break the shield. That makes it all the more easy for Oligator to try and convert on it. Twitzy gets staggered.
Hey, Passuo is actually giving up Freedom Charge. He's over to the Hulk. Coming on through, Nocta moves over to the Namor. They've seen the Ultron, they've seen the Torch, and they're going to try and take it out of the sky with the pressure coming on through from the Namor and the Monstros alongside of it. But Vice have so much control of the high ground right now, and Insomnia are really going to have to double down if they want to be able to hold on to this perch. And Relaxing Sky just doesn't get the opportunity. The Pyro Prison with the tick damage forces Insomnia's positions, leaves them low enough that Oligator doesn't even need to full commit and can just catch them as they try and disengage the Rage of Ultron.
God, his mechanics are just so disgusting. Between Pyro Prison and Strangling, what? They're going for the invisible boundary. Blind Pro believes that it's winnable, and Passimo is inclined to agree. And they have kept this one stalled here. There's going to be a disengagement from the Hulk. Relaxing Sky is found isolated. Forever manages to grab Baby Bat on the other side. Wait, Forever's converting on this. Forever's got the mechanics. Like Insomnia are just such a clutch team. Unbelievable stuff to turn this one around.
Here's the thing as well. Insomnia actually swapped Nocta over to the Mantis for that damage boost. So they tried the Namor angle, didn't work. Now they're going to just put all of the pocket onto this Phoenix, and because they stopped Vice from having that momentum, the Flyers now take so much entry damage because there's no Invis Woman, no Guardian Shield to prevent Olga, Tor, and Knuten from getting picked.
Yeah, they're just absolutely eating this poke on the entry, and Twitzy is feasting right now. It's Hulk into her back. He's rather upset, and he's making everyone else's problem. Knuten gets hit by the Gamma Clap, and even with the Eternal Bomb, the damage is still so much to try and deal with. A quick strangling prison grabs in multiple members of Insomnia, but Relaxing Sky meets the call in midair, and Oligator gets hit twice. It just dives in front of a shockwave that was coming out of a Phoenix, outpaced it on the way, and so got hit by a second phase of damage from Twitzy. Not the greatest disengage, but here comes a re-engage from Knuten. A Rage of Ultron around the back. Doesn't seem to be presented too many targets, but Nocta's found isolated here. Forever's falling low. Has to use their bubble for themselves. The Pyro Prison might be erected shortly on top of the high ground, but Oligator doesn't quite have it ready. Forever ready to do some damage off the back of the Mag Ultimate, but I think that one might have been more of a space ultimate than a space maker.
Still, they're stalling. Lion Pro is going to have invisible boundary for this next fight. It's up to Lugia Go to try and shut them down with the Meteor M and that one-shot potential onto the Invis Woman. Otherwise, Vice are going to be so in deep on the objective. It's going to be overtime. They're all going to be slowed. This is going to determine it. The double jump means that Lion Pro is currently invisible. They don't know where to throw the Meteor.
Passimo's got so much staying power here. Baby Bat drives everyone forward. A fate of both worlds is enough to try and take down Twitzy, and Forever just doesn't have the HP to stand up to all of this firepower. Relaxing Sky is rounded upon. Knuten gets in close, is punished for the audacity. Relaxing Sky says, take a seat, son. I'm going to put this one down for now. The angriest Hulk has arrived, and Baby Bat can't stand up to a green rage monster. Getting in close and personal. A quick grab here and there. Passimo's mechanics are unbelievable on the Hulk. And what was the last second contest for the Flora Colossus is stalled in place. There's no one else there. What a play from the Hulk.
Oh, Insomnia, the turnaround. I can tell you the exact moment that they turned it around too. It was when they went to the Phoenix and they actually rotated. The two teams swapped position. Insomnia with the off angle and the Guardian Shield pocket onto Twitzy actually went to the objective, forcing Vice to have to go to the high ground rather than the Flora Colossus first. And it meant that even when we saw Vice starting to come away with eliminations, the objective had moved almost all the way back to the beginning of third. So they're dumping all of their ultimates in to regain control of that space, and Insomnia knows that by flipping that map, they've guaranteed themselves another fight, but when it gets close enough to the finish line, they've got the respawn advantage because they're right outside the fight.
Relaxing Sky winning their duel against Knuten. There was kind of everything as well. Hitting the Hedgehogs. Luna does so much damage, and Knuten decided at range to get in close and really demand that attention. I don't know if he really wanted to catch those hands.
Vice are going to be running the Cloak and Dagger yet again. They've also got Lugia over towards that thing, so that they're going to have damage reduction onto whoever he decides to jump, as well as potential pressure onto Flyers if we do see the wraparound with something like a Human Torch to take the pressure off of the front line and let them move on forward. But it's just going to be, at the moment, Moon Knight coming on through from Nocta, combined with the wall isolations from Forever and the damage boost from the Storm, and already he's 50% to the first ultimate.
Hands of Khonshu start flying real quick on Arako, especially when you're up against tanks that don't have quite as much mitigation. The Vanguard capacity of Lugia definitely less in shielding, more in raw presence. A quick Yancy Street charge to shut down any potential movements here, but Nocta's more than happy to just stand on business, and Baby Bass found that out the hard way.
Vice didn't have the rocket up either, so the pick onto Missouri on that Magneto was immediate, but Ken got the God of Mischief up online in time, copies Canute and brings everybody back to the fold with the Comic Revival, and that means that they have another soul pine too. Plus, if he gets taken down, he gets to bring himself back.
Bring on back real quickly. Noctis just racking him up right now. Racks on racks on racks. Wants that 250k in their pocket. And Canuten's bringing them back real quick here. Vice are back on business. The isolated is Ken. Will be unable to survive this very easily. And Canuten's been taken down once again as well. Relaxing Sky thinks that this one warrants a fate of both worlds. And admittedly, they've got enough space here to try and work with that you do want to try and convert. Yet another hand of Khonshu, by the way, as Oligator gets a reasonable ult, but gets frozen out of it in the aftermath. Relaxing Sky is having themselves a game right now on the Luna.
I mean, Lugia is about to have an absolute field day with this clobbering time. The problem is his health bar is deteriorating so quickly, eroded entirely by all of the spam damage coming on through from the Moon Knight. It now falls to Missouri with the Freedom Charge to stall at the objective, but Nox has been able to find the isolation onto Ken so that the Loki doesn't get to build God of Mischief. But he manages to lose the duel against Canute on the Atom, which means that the Loki has a little bit more of a safer time.
Canute off the edge, though. Much more harder to resurrect, and Hydra Relaxing Sky getting their own licks in here too. There should be a recontest later on.
I mean, Vice are going to have another cycle, though, of 2 Karmic Revival casts. Oligator is going to be swapping over to the Doctor Strange, portaling everybody back into position. Looks like they find the backline as well before Relaxing Sky has the fate of both worlds, trying to jump out upon them with that blind coming on through from the Terror Cape. And the Wolverine's been able to grab forever, but Passawo with the Sonic Seduction clears the space back into Insomnia's control.
Yeah, now the Thor Colossus is moving once more. They're rounding upon the thing. He doesn't have the health ball to try and deal with this one. Yeah, there are regeneration domains, but they've already been expended, so Ken can't survive much longer. It's Canuten from the back, though. Not very close to the resurrection. Admittedly, 95%, but it's enough for self-revival. So Insomnia, this should be finished. Unless crazy still comes through from Missouri.
Missouri's there on the Captain America. Great force physics, though, from Line Pro. Over Yancey's 3 charge comes on through from Lugia. He's already been able as well to get a little bit of healing coming on through. The dash isn't in time to save the thing. And Ken goes down, caught by the Strangling Prison after he ends the CC immunity from that Eternal Bond. Vice still think this is winnable, though. The rest from the actual Adam Warlock is so close to the objective. They all drop from the high onto the low.
Yeah, but we haven't been there for the cap. It's been completed already. The Flora Colossus has started greenifying Araco. And now Noctis just getting up close and personal. Once again, Khonshu makes his will known, and he does not like interlopers upon the Flora Colossus. Khonshu has plans, and Vice will not stand in their way.
Noctis just going to stay on this Moon Knight until that Loki swaps too, because he's getting so much value with the Onk bouncers off of those doppelgangers. But now we're going to be seeing, yeah, there we go. Loki goes away, so too does Mantis. And Insomnia, they saw what worked on their defensive third. They're going to do the exact same thing again. All of the pocket onto Twitzy. It's going to come down to the flyer fight. Who's going to be able to find more value? There's more damage boost up for Twitzy with the Mantis, but there's more stability with Oligator on the Torch and the Ultron.
Flames in the bellies of both of these teams, and Passawo has been able to activate theirs first. Sonic Seduction grabs only the Magneto for now, as Lugia on the end side of their transformation has their mind filled with thoughts of Emma, and already it seems like the Vice defense is falling apart. Look how far the cart's gone already.
They've got flyer comp, but they don't have control of the space, Harry. And worse for them, too, where these fights are taking place in low-hanging door frames. No good angle for the Human Torch. If he wants to come back into the fight, he has to drop low enough to get pressured by both the Strange and the Emma, as well as the Phoenix. And off of the back of that, Insomnia don't slow down.
Yeah, like they've made up for lost time here, if ever there was some on second. One fight, and it was barely even a real one. Canuten's over to the Cope Iron Man.
Oligator's onto the Namor too, so they're trying to win that one fight. Insomnia stopped all of the momentum off of one fight win and using it to capitalize on this high ground position. Eye of Agamotto catches onto so many players. Baby Bat with the fate of both worlds is going to be able to come in for the healing, but it's not in time. Lugia was behind cover, which means that the LOS wasn't there for the Hulk, and Insomnia still think that it's winnable.
Oh, a double from Missouri. Twitzy knocked her down. And this could be exactly what the Doctor ordered for Vice. A little bit of stability and some positioning to try and work with for their flyer.
Insomnia with the Doctor Strange and the EMEA, though, should have the shield covered to be able to prevent a connection from the invincible iron cannon coming on through from Knuten's ultimate. And you have to worry, too, about Twitzy. If Vice stack too many of their players up on this high ground, all of them are going to get stunned by that Phoenix when Insomnia come knocking for control of that high hold.
An invincible pulse cannon and a dream, but there are so many ways to mitigate it. You want to try and shut down something like the Fate of Both Worlds. Big stun in the back. Lugia go. Nocta! Not into the Horde of Proteus, bro. Not like this. Instantly decimated. But Oligator is traded out on the other side. Still, Twitzy stands alone. The healing's not there with their Mantis down. The little pocket isn't available. What is bro cooking over there? Knuten starts to feel the pressure, and their mind breaks under it, just like Baby Bats does, as they look upon Emma Frost. Thankfully, they're dragged into the Eternal Bond, so the healing is there. Insomnia now in the midst of a brawl. They are going to get Twitzy back in good time because they're so close to their own spawn. Ken's already been taken down, and now the call has to be made. Do we disengage and make another fight for later?
Well, here's the problem for Vice. They don't have a defensive into this End Song Inferno coming on through from Twitzy, especially since Insomnia can actually combo off of their own invisible boundary. Out comes the Eye of Agamotto directly into the mag shield, but it still catches Knuten, who was up in the air above the mag curtain, and Insomnia just continue applying pressure to the point that Missouri uses Meteor M to bypass the Vanguards and look for a pick onto the back.
Certified Knuten haters, unfortunately, with the solo. What a quick bank around with the End Song Inferno, but it does not impact. Line Pro's brought up more than enough healing here for Insomnia to try and sustain themselves on the floor of Colossus. Lugia is getting angry, and this is when he's at his most dangerous. Frozen up temporarily, the healing's got to be there. An exile onto the Magneto, and Knuten finally strikes on back. The Unibeam, Jarvis clipped that one. A smack into the floor as Passimo was taken down in the most slow and humiliating manner that Lugia can craft.
Missouri actually was huge coming on through with that Meteor Ram. Yes, it didn't find the pick, but it meant that Line Pro wasn't able to use the Invis boundary combined with the End Song Inferno until he sees where the Meteor is, which meant that Baby Bat was able to build up her ultimate and have the healing to sustain through that End Song Inferno connection. Knuten's still going to be hidden on that angle too. If Insomnia vibe for the high ground and with the time presence at their backs, drop to the low, everyone is going to be behind the Iron Man.
Oh, Knuten's cooking. Passimo doesn't fall down to the damage incoming, though, and the Horn of Proteus is equally ineffective. Still, Line Probe is down on the floor, so the Wrath of the Seven Seas is made known up close and personal. 2 players stunned. Oligator gets converted upon, and Knuten's down as well. It's going to be so long for them to respawn amidst all of this. The End Song Inferno has to bank around cautiously as Ken has taken him down. Lugia is doing their best to stall out the carpet, getting up close and personal. The Phoenix does so much damage. Missouri's turn to step up to the plate now, and Omega level mutant with no one behind them as Lugia and Baby Bat have been just scattered, gone, reduced to atoms. Knuten's there in time. An opening of the portal here from Oligator, but is Ken even anywhere near to try and make it work? The answer is no. The Flora Colossus reaches the goal, and Insomnia are 2-1 and 1 map away from knocking Vice from Ignite.
It's the Emma Frost versus Doctor Strange shakedown. The second that he tries to step through the portal into Carbon Crush off of that diamond form, and not enough time to be able to stall and allow Vice to start to regroup onto that objective. And Twitzy, for the second time in a row, will be able to walk away with the MVP. 44 eliminations in total, by the way. Finishes the map 36,937 damage total done. As we can see, both Nocta and Relaxing Sky holding the assists. 34 for the Lunar Snow and 24 for the Mantis. Insomnia really worked out what worked for them when they went for that 3rd point hold, and they just kept getting to pocket the Phoenix for as much as they possibly wanted.
I seem like we definitely got a little bit of value from the Adam on the defense here for the side of Vice. Like, Knuten was getting some good mechanical plays out, and of course being able to convert on the Ultron. It looked like they had so much of a chance when that Johnny Storm was up in the air, but like you said, it was all about that Phoenix off from Twitzy.
See, the thing for Vice is, and this is likely going to haunt them, if they just been able to stall one more fight on second when they swap to those flyer compositions. The problem for them is that when they swap to the flyer comp, Insomnia was already so far forward they were fully in control of that spacing, and we were also into a neutral fight rather than an ultimate build-up fight. So every single thing that Twitzy does, he's going to have 12% damage boost coming on through from Nocta because it's a triple strategist line, so the Mantis is never going to have to use those seeds for healing, and he's also always going to have the Lunar Snowflake pocket and the Invis Guardian Shield stagger. So even if Vice have the majority of their players go through those door frames and try and stack up rushing down that Phoenix, they're never going to be able to find the elimination, and the Phoenix gets to turn around and stun every single one of them, punishing them for being stacked and supercharging up the Ensong Inferno, as opposed to poor Oligator on that Human Torch who had zero control of the spacing and was just being rushed down before he could even join the fight because of it.
Yeah, just being rolled on by both a Phoenix and a Star-Lord coming at you from different angles, it's always going to be difficult to survive, even if you have an Ultron drone ready at your behest. And you know what? Us Vanguard viewers, we're feasting right now. Two fantastic Hog players in Passawo and Lugia Go. We are absolutely on it right now. However, for Vice, they are on the edge of elimination. Can they bring it back? Find out after this break. Vice are suffering right now, but it's not over yet. Insomnia are on match point in our lower bracket here for Mother Love's Ignite Stage 2 EMEA. And Mox Oblivion faces Vice if they can't get it together on their map pick.
Yeah, and I feel when we head into the ban draft, Mantis is likely going to be catching a ban almost immediately because, oh my goodness, the damage boosted Twitzy was just getting work done. You have to remember as well, Vice came into that with a really good hold on first. Like the Loki being able to build God of Mischief before the Adams comic revival comes on through so you can stall out long enough to get your actual comic revival cast was a stroke of genius, but so too was the fact that Insomnia were running the Moon Knight, and the second that those Angs catch onto those doppelgangers, you're always going to be able to pressure off the strategist into having to back up and disengage and desynchronize that ultimate stall chain coming on through. Being able to break that before we saw a second God of Mischief into comic revival meant that Insomnia had so much time to play with when they moved into third off of a blistering pace second.
Yeah, that honestly, second point, it kind of fell apart. Like, you can get stuck on second point for like aeons. like they're a Tyrannosauri who got stuck on second point of Araco. Like, bro, it's been like 17 million years. Why can't I get through this point? But getting through it in like a minute is unbelievable, especially considering I think they only had like 1 or maybe 0 people pushing for most of that because they claimed so much of a space to try and make it much harder for his flyers to move forward through his small doorways.
Yeah, but it turns out, just like the dinosaurs were wiped out by a meteor hitting the ground, an extinction event comes on through when a Mantis gets to damage boost a Phoenix, especially on second when so many people are stacked up. Like, we didn't even really need an Ensong Inferno to be able to break it. It's just off of spark damage and melee animation cancels alone that the Phoenix can entirely wipe the board. So I feel like either the Mantis is going to get targeted or the Phoenix as well, because as we've seen, whenever Vice play their defenses, they like to play stacked, which means that Phoenix is getting maximum value.
Yeah, like those sparks, they're building up off the explosions, and it just means that you're getting that Entering Inferno so fast, and it's damage boosted every time. Like you said, we might need to see a pivot towards that Mantis ban, like if we go for maybe a Jeff Mantis ban to begin with, if you've got the 2 bans, but if you don't ban it first, then it might well slip through the cracks. It's often been a first protect, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but unfortunately, if you ban the Mantis first, then that leaves the door open for either the Jeff to be able to creep through or the Ultron. So you really do have to figure out which line you want to ban for and which composition you want to try and send Insomnia down. But as we've seen, Twitzy, like, I put a lot of stock on Twitzy as a duelist when we were coming into this, because when he was on chemistry, he was incredibly flexible, being able to play so many hyper carries of the previous meta, which means that not only can he flex onto the Phoenix, as we've seen, he's got a very good Human Torch in the back pocket too, which means if the Ultron does manage to sneak through, that Human Torch is coming out to play, or the Star-Lord as well.
I wonder if we end up going to Domination now. The map pool has reopened as we have gone through all 3 of our map types. The only maps we can't play are Krakoa, Symbiotic Surface, and Araco. So it's an absolute open season right now for Vice. They can choose their absolute best map if they would like, but they did do pretty well on Domination, being able to leverage Canuten's great play on the Iron Man, as well as Oligator being able to use the Namor in conjunction with the Hulk to really control a bunch of space.
Yeah, and the Hulk as well, being able to jump in and out of different spaces, means that you have a lot of ping-pong potential when it comes to relaying the point. But if the Hulk gets through, you have to worry about the EMEA, because, I mean, the EMEA grabs have been absolutely crushing when it comes to that overall impact. And we've seen multiple times, too, that Mantis managed to make it through the ban draft and therefore give the damage boost onto not just a duelist but also the Vanguard too, which makes it even harder for Lugia to be able to hold his ground on the Hulk if it comes down to a 1 versus 1 against the EMEA for control of the objective space.
Yeah, Nocta is a impressive Mantis player as well when they make it through a draft, and we've seen just what the EMEA's been able to do. We saw Canadian get kicked off the map, unfortunately, on Araco. Sometimes that risk happens when you're playing on Araco, especially on first point, for all those environmental hazards to deal with. But it feels like EMEA's been a priority ban since Vice just got so much value out of it from Missouri, I believe, who was playing it on Krakoa, because we saw great fight planning around the EMEA Ultimate when it came to those domination points as well, such as like having to cede some space away sometimes, like the point was sacrificed in order to make sure that there was better win conditions available for that EMEA Frost. And being able to hard pocket your EMEA as well is pretty good when they got that 100 charge, because Missouri's a crazy tracking EMEA.
Yeah, and Vice also have to worry too about the bans that are going to be drafted against them, not just the bans that they're going to be drafting against their opponent, because we've seen Insomnia have a really good grasp of what to instant ban that forces Vice out of their comfort zone when it comes to the strategist lineups. Like, we've seen Baby Bat have to go to the Cloak and Dagger, something that we've actually got to see a couple of teams go with. OG Seed, when we see them go up against FaZe, I'm expecting to see a fair bit of Cloak and Dagger coming on through from Nami, given the fact that they like running the Cloak and Dagger with the Groot and the Winter Soldier for the blinds. But as we've seen from the past coming on through from Vice, they do prefer to come on out with things like that Luna, so that the duelists, when they go head to head, both have access to the idle aura and you don't have to look to disengage.
Okay, Moxie, speed analysis, go.
Oh boy, okay, Vice take out the Adam Warlock because of Central Park Convergence, and there's a lot of uptime for the res behind that point itself, as well as the Soulbind to be able to walk uncontested on first. Ultron's also been removed so that Insomnia can't run a good dive or a strong flyer composition with a Human Torch or a Star-Lord. Just been removed from both of these teams because of the environmental hazards when it comes to every single part of this map. Luna's been the insta-ban against Vice too, as we've seen Insomnia being able to really put the hood on forcing Baby Bat onto that Cloak and Dagger, and as we can see, Mag is still going to be in play alongside the Phoenix and the Mantis, which means that there's going to be so much pressure on Vice when it comes to being able to sustain the strategist ultimates and win the neutral duels in the 1 versus 1s when it comes to those duelist plays.
And time. Damn, you're crazy. Wowie. Yeah, we missed a little bit of a draft, but hey, who cares? Mox has got you, right? Damn. She's got hands. Vice once again have the have the Luna band away from them. I think they're trying to force Baby Bat once again over onto a Cloak and Dagger, but maybe there are some options here. Oh, there aren't really options to pivot into that tertiary strategist role. Like, the Mantis is open, but you don't have the Jeff, you don't have the Ultron, you don't have the Adam. So you could play, like, I don't know, Rocket Mantis, but that doesn't seem like a great idea, especially when you're going up against the, like, Perma Phoenix.
Yeah, I feel like we might be fielded onto a little bit of Cloak and Dagger shenanigans yet again, which again feels like it's something that Insomnia are enforcing onto Vice when it comes to that ban draft. I am very worried about the Mantis being able to make it through too, as we were seeing a hover come on through from Insomnia's side of the Namor and that Hulk. So remember, damage boosted Namor, you don't have to worry about syncing up the window of something like the Luna's Fate of Both Worlds with the 10 seconds. Even though it only got knocked out by 2 seconds, having less opportunity to sync up those ultimates really forces these teams into playing those ultimates a lot faster and potentially messing up where they position them or getting the timing correctly when they're looking for follow-up off of either a Horn of Proteus from the Namor or a Feast of the Abyss with the Venom.
It'll be all about those combinations and being able to effectively communicate them in the heat of battle. That's where the comms often start to break down. When you get past like a 15 to 20 second mark in a fight, the comms, the plan starts to go out the window and a new plan has to be generated on the fly, which is oftentimes the duty of an in-game caller. Someone like a Trust Me, a real leader who everyone will like, obey the commands of when they get issued.
Yeah, and we don't really get to talk all that much about comms because it's obviously something that you don't get to see. It's not tangible value, but that's one of the benefits of a dive composition with things like the tempo attack, where you can hit and interrupt the communication cycle coming on through. If a team is either alt tracking or mid rotation trying to, we call it zombie walking on the player and coaching side, where you're still trying to come up with a plan as you walk out from your spawn towards the fight. If you zombie walk into those fights and all of a sudden there's a dive directly on top of you, 9 times out of 10 you're losing those fights.
9 times out of 10. Like, if you don't have a plan and you get punched in the face while you're making the plan, often it's not going to be a great plan. And sometimes not even everyone follows the plan. As we check out all of the beautiful scenery available on Central Park, this is a great place to play the Human Torch, and we do know that Oligator loves that pivot over to the Human Torch, but I believe we did see the Ultron banned away, so the potential for Pocket is quite low.
That, and it's also going to be going into space that's already controlled by a Namor, and as we've seen, when teams defend and they can set up those crossfires, it can be really detrimental to any flying component, something that actually Knuten found out the hard way yesterday. Remember when they tried to go with the Ultron Iron Man against that Hela and Phoenix setup?
I mean, the Hela Phoenix, like, that double head scan was just disgusting to witness, wasn't it? Like you said, it's just so difficult to approach that, especially when you've got like the burst mobility from the Crow of the Hela and the ability to move between planes of verticality super easily for the Phoenix, even if it does come at the cost of some DPS, being able to not have that dark ascent as easily as you did before. But there's certainly been a multitude of looks that we've seen here on Central Park. And who knows which one's going to be the most viable here. I'd love to see the Hulks come out again, but that's more of a selfish desire, as both Passawo and Lugia have been pretty goated on the Hulks. And it's kind of heartbreaking that one of these teams is going to leave this year's Ignite, potentially after this map.
I mean, you can tell how much it means to both of these teams too. Like the back and forth that we've seen coming on out for both of these teams, where we've seen so many fights go so long, all the way to the distance, and it is just one major play that turns things around. Maybe it's a Phoenix Stun being able to find a connection onto something like a Cloak and Dagger, meaning that you don't get your heal opportunity or to throw your resources down. Maybe it's a Supernova being desynchronized from something like a Strangling Prison, so you don't get to stack those Hurricanes, chain the damage, be able to punch through strategist uptimes, or maybe it's not being able to get on top of an Adam Warlock in time before the fight breaks out, forcing Soulbind and punishing a Karmic Revival's telegraphed position. But now it is very much on the line for Vice, as Insomnia are currently on match point and will be starting off on the defense. And we can see from the silhouette, you got your wish, Harry. That's going to be more Hulk to play, which in turn is going to empower that Namor. If Vice try and run any flyer right now, they're going to get immediately checked from that sky. And off of the back of that, I don't think Vice are going to be running flying components. I think it's going to be sticking with things like the Winter Soldier, so that when the Hulk dives backline, you can grab him back with the Bionic Hook.
Yeah, the Winter Soldier, like, it rose in usage very quickly, and it's also had a little bit of a drop-off here between these teams, but I feel like Knuten's played a little bit of it as well. Don't know if it, like, fell out of favor for Knuten, or is it, if there's just more faith in the Iron Man. It definitely seems like when you're going up against both an EMEA and a Lunar Snow, there's a lot of capacity to get value from the Invincible Pulse Cannon, being able to burst through either the EMEA Ultimate or the Lunar Ultimate. And as happy as I am to see Paso on that Hulk, it does have a bit of vulnerability compared to Venom because of the nature of the charge for that jump. It's very easily interrupted, and then you got to charge it up all over again because he can't maintain his jump charge between CCs.
Yeah, and not just that, Venom has high mobility, but also high survivability with his shields, as opposed to Hulk, who has his bubble, but when bubble gets broken and you get CC nabbed back into that fight before you can properly disengage, you tend to become somewhat of a pin cushion. More worrying as well for the attacker's side is that the Namor is going to be starting off in the defense, so you don't have to burn Blessing of the Deep to guarantee that you can hit your high ground perch, as opposed to if you're attacking and you have to go from the low to the high, burning that cooldown, which is why a lot of the time when we see attacking Hellas, Namor's going toe-to-toe with their mirror, the defense tends to come out on top because they still have access to those mobility resources in case they start losing the fight, and they can look to reposition without being punished, as opposed to the attacking side, who, because they're taking the fight when those are already down on cooldown, have no opportunity of safe disengage and just catch all of the damage instead.
Well, it does appear to be a bit of a wait. So let's think about what might be coming to Marvel Rivals in the next couple of days. Daredevil is on the horizon. The Devil of Hell's Kitchen. It looks like it's a very interesting kit. Seems like we're going to be fulfilling a similar niche to Iron Fist, as well as having a blind and a deafen on the ultimate, which is going to be very interesting in a team environment. As to, it's going to be a bit of a comms check yet again to see if you can communicate to your blinded and deafened teammates what ultimates might be coming their way, because it might be that a Daredevil's ultimate itself, letting the devil out, is not what really secures those frags, but the disabilities impaired might allow for other ultimates to have even more effectiveness.
Yeah, it's not really as much a question about letting the devil out as if the dive is going to be let in as well, because being able to actually see those positions through the walls is absolutely huge. We've seen so many times when these attacking teams are walking forward and they know that there is a probability of a Venom behind them, the amount of time that they actually have to clear those angles. We got to see it from the Psylocke POV a little bit earlier on Symbiotic Surface. On the original walk-up, remember, having to check to the left, having to check to the right, making sure to mark anything out of the ordinary. Daredevil's going to be able to do that just in the neutral, which is actually huge when it comes to being able to prevent dive composition. So you can play him as a sort of a backline assassination hit, where you can send him after your enemy team's backlines, or you can play him as a counter dive component as well.
Yeah, I believe we're going to be seeing the Daredevil Showcase come up later today with some of our favorite streamers from around the Marvel Rivals content creator sphere. And here we are. Stalling Rivals is over. We're back.
Vice are going for a 2-2-2 composition, so crossfire angle plays set on up for Knuten and Oligator. Knuten playing a little bit closer as well to the stack of their backline in case Insomnia get aggressive, but relaxing Sky with that Loki. The regeneration domain does get the benefit of having better sustain in the first fight. It's going to mean that the doppelgangers provide a lot of resets into Knuten's ultimate though.
Yeah, trio of clones back here. The output is going to be immense from Relaxing Sky, but you can see that there has been a good amount of pressure coming that way from Knuten, laying down the Rotterstern headshots at range. Missouri needs a little bit of HP, but Pasuo seems a little bit reticent at the moment to drop down from his high ground perch. Is mostly just playing a bodyguard to Twitzy, forcing Oligator off this high ground when they do bother to come on up, and making sure that Lugia can't control this space either. It's all about making sure that it's just a safe and cuddly time for Twitzy.
Insomnia put the pressure onto the Phoenix with the Hulk, and then immediately when the Phoenix was getting peeled for, ran down onto Missouri when the resources were just lacking to keep the EMEA up. And Insomnia bully their way onto main off of the back of it. Twitzy, by the way, has already got Horn of Proteus ready to go. Might use it when Vice walk up to try and catch onto Ken as he comes on through from his Eternal Bond dashes, or they're just going to pair it with the Sonic Seduction trying to catch the disengage.
A bit speculative. It seemed like Insomnia are already getting away with... oh no, Pasuo's gone in too deep as well. Hold up, this is quite the fumble here from Insomnia.
Oh, that's regeneration domain too.
Okay, they're just going to try and time out this. Wait for the Eternal Bond to roll on through. Ken's going to be able to claim a huge amount of this space. Can go in with the Terra Cape as well. And guess who's here to try and follow it up? Lugia go, ready to go. Sentinel strikes are solid. A quick copy using the Gods of Duplicity. And that's going to be the Soul Resurgence ready to go. Coming through from the side of a Relaxing Sky. Knuten taken down right here as Twitzy returns to the fray once more. The Squids have made their wills known. And Ensong Inferno doesn't get too much. Twitzy is still lording over it all on the name, or absolutely the difference maker in so many of these fights.
I mean, Insomnia had triple strategists, which meant that they had 3 defensive ultimates to be able to cycle, as opposed to Vice's 2, given the fact that Lugia went down before Freedom Charge can come out. Knuten now off of the Winter Soldier. Now that Kraken Impact didn't find the value that it's looking for, over towards the Hela to be able to keep a check of Twitzy on that Namor, as well as utilize the Soul Drainer in case Insomnia try and send Pasuo aggressively deep. But because he got picked, he's on the Strange, which means that Vice just have to make a play with both of their Vanguard ultimates, opening up the space so they can guarantee pick up a couple of ticks.
Also means no Gamma. Namor looks like Pasuo got grabbed out of their ultimate there. Iron Agamotto not going to be opening up today as Missouri carves through the regeneration domains. And now an opening has been found by Knuten. Over onto the Hela. Not the usual hero that he picks on up, but still might be able to get some real value as the double hit scan runs down Pasuo. They carve through the shield. And Vice have a huge amount of space control to work with here.
Oh, Twitzy's over to the Starlord, though. This Hela is about to be very aggressively dove on. Yeah, Knuten turns around and Twitzy's directly behind him. That's a jump scare moment if ever I've seen one, and forever with the Sonic Seduction just clears the point of Vice's presence, which means Insomnia have all of the angles and all of the damage boost from Nocturne on the Mantis to convert into picks. And that is all of the point presence that Vice will be able to pick up until this next fight goes through.
Informational failure there, potentially. Knuten not knowing that Twitzy was round the back, and the damage boost onto Twitzy here is everything. Blaster Barrage just carves through, baby. That Oligator tries to turn it around off the back of an Ensong Inferno. T-posing above it all, looking on to Nocta. Maybe a follow-up could come on through from Lugia, but already the regeneration domains has come on out. Twitzy, Pasuo, all going to fall in overtime. It seems like maybe an overchase from Insomnia has absolutely shipwrecked their defense. Vice have managed to make it onto a point, getting in close and personal here. Line Pro going to try and return with the fate of both worlds. Still, players might be grabbed on in here by Missouri. They're grabbing onto Twitzy, just about manages to avoid getting mind controlled, but laying down the mortars from range. Knuten is a monster to try and deal with. There needs to be some peel for the backline. Knuten can't do anything. The automatic aim of a Star-Lord is just too much to try and stand up to right now. One player on the point. It's going to be Missouri on the EMEA, and the regeneration domains have once more been taken to the sky and brought the health bars up in their stead. Vice is so back and forth when it comes to their contestation, and it's Knuten who has to come on back now. Line Pro's on the Iron Man, taking a leaf out of Knuten's book somehow and getting value out of the quick flight and the armor overdrive. Nocturne on the other side, and I think that there still is someone here to try and contest. It's Pasuo on the other side. It's an absolute nightmare of a fight as Line Pro has to be charged on down. Knuten rolls it back. Forever's here on the Thor. 100% win rate every time, baby, up close and personal, and that's going to be the regeneration domain used to give it a little bit of extra sustainability over to a more valorous brother of the Asgardian children. Odin smiles down upon the efforts made this day, forever ascends to the sky and sinks Vice's hopes.
Okay, let's fully try and break that down in the little tent that we have. Insomnia overextended into Vice's team that far to their spawn because they knew that Eternal Bond was the ultimate that they had available, and the dashes from the spawn doors to the objective would not be enough even before to carry over. Then we get to see, like you said, Line Pro come out onto that Iron Man and play above the point so that Vice's players, because overtime had been going so incredibly long, couldn't actually have one of them step up, like the Doctor Strange maybe teleporting up to put pressure or shield block off the Iron Man's attrition, wasn't able to risk it in case that other player fell a little bit prematurely and overtime burned out entirely. And we got to see the back and forth for Insomnia understand if it goes to the brawl, they've got the better rotation of resources because they've got damage boost and regeneration domain. And Relaxing Sky on that Loki got 2 whole casts of regeneration domain within that entire fight.
For Vice, there are 2 choices. Lock in or leave any chance of going to Atlanta and the World Finals behind. Insomnia stand on the edge of kicking Vice into the abyss of elimination.
Here's the problem for Vice. If it goes down to just this opening fight, 6 versus 6, Insomnia have damage boost. They're always going to win their duels if it goes to that 1 versus 1. Vice, though, with Baby Back, going to be moving over to the Mantis instead. And it looks like they're going to be going for some dives. Lugia on that Venom, potentially looking to soft hit so that Knuten on the Starlord gets the damage boost and can try and play off of Insomnia's stack. As we can see, Passowo going low, but pulling so much attention to set Twitzy up on the Namer unchecked.
Twitzy's going to go up the spiral staircase here. Space gained and space made. Oligator now under assault. A duplicitous swap away as there's going to be the Squids lane on down. Should be burned through quickly, though, by the Starlord.
I mean, Insomnia already have so much space control. They get a huge XL2 onto Lugia, which means that the Venom isn't there to be able to counter the fuel coming on through. We can see Insomnia just setting up all of these angles, and then they can apply pressure on the objective, as that's already regeneration domain advantage.
Lugia can't disengage. Twitzy gets them with a headshot there. Berserks for Squids as well. Squids up on the sides. Twitzy's got themselves a perfect view to try and work upon a diamond form for Emma. She doesn't have the health to move in onto a point and try and keep this one contested, so the first thing's already come through. They're in the corner, and they're decimated by Twitzy. He's going for the jugular, and a knife is striking deep. The Lord of the Seas looks upon forever standing in the portal. Dare you come and touch my points, and I shall punish you for such wherewithal. You have not the strength, you have not the wisdom, you have not the vibrancy of character to defeat Insomnia. They stayed up all night for this bad boy, and Vice aren't strong enough to remove them once more. Missouri rolls on him, but their sentience is crushed. Insomnia, with a dominant performance, take Central Park and eliminate Vice.
Yeah, Vice losing control of all of those angles. The only place that is going to be safe, potentially, for their backline to play is on the opposite high ground. So they box themselves into that space, and it's the final nail in the coffin. The Vice coming on through with that Horn of Proteus here, because you're either going to lose your backline in one fell swoop, or you're going to lose full control of the point presence as well, and allow Insomnia to walk away with better ultimate economy, plus putting Vice into the desperation plays of having to strange portal their players one by one, funneling them back on through, which means that Insomnia with that Emma are still going to be able to pressure the Doctor Strange into just getting absolutely steamrolled over. Insomnia walk away with the series win. 3-2-1.
An unbelievable performance here. Twitzy really showing their stuff as a top-tier duelist. Nocta, incredibly flexible. I wonder what Nocta's hero pool is going to look like in this season, and new constant access to the Mantis seems to be serving them well. They really are absolutely throwing hands on the Mantis.
Yeah, we've seen Nocta be very flexible in terms of hero pool. They've even run things like the Storm before, as well as being able to, like you said, play that Mantis, flexing over to the Adam Warlock, and that's really good feathers in the cap for Insomnia when it comes to the ban draft, because it forces a lot of these teams into having to ban out those, and unfortunately, you only get 4 ban slots. You're not going to be able to ban out absolutely everything that you're going to be able to look for, as it really did just come down to Insomnia being able to monopolize the space from that first fight. Vice had to make the first move when it came to trying to shut down that Nemo. They had to go intro before Twitzy already had his angle developed, because we got to see Twitzy getting the full rotation all the way around point, could put pressure on the Loki, force the doppelgangers out, coming on through, force the regeneration domain out through, and then when the fight properly breaks on out, he's got Horn of Proteus as well to really put you in a Sophie's choice sort of situation where you're going to lose regardless of what option you choose.
The 100% win rate remains. I'm just saying we might see some more of it later, but focusing in on the here and now for Insomnia, that was a fantastic performance. And it's great to see Lion Pro thriving again as well. Have that third place finish at the Invitational at the beginning of the year, all the way back in March. Since then has been like, it's been a floundering for the teams of Lion Pro. We had 0%, I think, essentially not getting a map during Ignite. Even in MRC, wasn't doing very well. But joining this Insomnia GG core for Lion Pro really has given him an outlet for having this big brother energy, being able to stabilize this roster, make sure that they're always on the same page, and they have this clutch factor when the fights start to get a little bit wild, coming back on things like the Iron Man. We've got an interview to have some insight into how that match went down. I believe Forever / Pretty Betrayer / KP is here. We'll go with Forever to address you. How's it going, bud? How were the comms during your last point defense of Central Park?
I will be honest, Line Pro told me to be quiet because I started screaming after killing the back line. But it was pretty nice, you know? Just a bit chaotic, just tiny bit, you know, our usual.
Did you expect to gain access as frequently to the Mantis as you did in that matchup? Because she has been catching the most amount of bans previously, and we got to see Twitzy with that damage boost getting absolute work done.
In all honesty, yes, we have preparations done for every team we have played so far. Obviously, sometimes we do play worse against them than we played today. But our analyst, Arya Goddess, she is great at what she does. And so far, we just knew we were going to have Mantis available the entire series. Like, we knew that team doesn't really like banning Mantis. We knew that they don't like playing Mantis either. We are just prepared for it, right?
To get a bit more insight as well into your bans, you guys banned Luna a lot earlier than most other teams do in their draft. Do you know what the rationale behind that was?
Yes, I know it sounds a bit funny, but we kind of knew that the weakest link in the enemy team would be their backline. So, knowing their comfort hero pools, we kind of just decided that it's better to disable them from playing their main supports and force them on third supports, and abuse the fact that they don't really have another third support player except Olegator or Knuten. And they still need somebody on duelist, right?
So we got to see your other Vanguard player, Pathlo, getting to flex between so many different Vanguards because Dive has so many different play styles. You, however, a lot of the time get stuck on things like that Magneto or the EMEA. How do you think playing Mag has changed in comparison to Stage 1 when we moved into Stage 2?
I don't think you can play Mag the same way you used to be because of the insane amount of stuns in the game. I do think, however, you can still kind of play him similarly, but you just need to respect every cooldown more. Like, you cannot push into Emma Frost, you cannot push into an Invis. So many things that can just deny you from playing the game. And to hit a Magneto ult, it is 5 times harder because every character released so far has new mobility. Ultron, Phoenix, and the list goes down there, right? Or they have a way of surviving. So the character is like playing everything on a harder mode.
Well, you don't seem to be deterred by the difficulty. Thank you so much for joining us, Forever, and congratulations again on the win. Hopefully we'll get to speak to you again.
Hope so too. Thank you, guys.
That was Vanguard Wizard of Insomnia making backlines disappear on Thor and on Magneto.